Good evening and welcome to your Saturday, August 2, 2025 edition of the Evening News. I am Michelle Henry. Let's take a look at some of the lead stories tonight. PSC welcomes U.S. tariff cut on Guyanese. Exports calls for continued dialogue. Private sector bodies condemn Wynn's call to boycott businesses after closure of bank accounts of candidates. President Ali promises cheaper electricity, better water quality and poverty reduction for Region 1. PPPC very serious about Guyana's development. No lip service, SINGH. And more money in your pockets to cushion high cost of living, PM assures. Now for the news in detail. Under the next People's Progressive Party civic government, residents of Region 1, Baraima Waini, can look forward to transformative development across all sectors aimed at improving living conditions there. This was the promise made by President Dr. Irfan Ali, who along with Prime Minister Brigadier retired Mark Phillips during a PPPC public meeting at Port Kaituma, Northwest District on Saturday. From detailing plans for sector-specific enhancements and upskilling of various categories of citizens to announcing a poverty reduction strategy, improved water quality, and slash electricity prices, the head of state says the government will continue to bring prosperity and dignity to every home and community across Region 1. Let's have a look.
I assure you that you cannot begin to imagine the future that is before you, the type of prosperity investment that will be made here in Region 1, here in Matakai, in every single community, to ensure every single one of you have access to the best possible health care, education, infrastructure, roads, water, and yes, we must invest so that you can have electricity that is cheaper, more reliable, and reaches every single community. We are already subsidizing by $110 million electricity here. But I want you to know today, with the effect from the 1st of August, just like we have given other communities, we will reduce your electricity rate by 30%, and we will do it by increasing the subsidy on your behalf here in Port Kaituma. We have to find a way in which we will protect your waterways from pollution, because your waterway is part of your life. And we have to protect it from pollution, and we will have a special initiative in which we will clean up the river and clean up the waterway so we can restore that water to the quality, and also by putting mechanisms in place to safeguard the waterways. We will be investing in micro water treatment facilities, bringing in the latest technology so that at our central areas, your children, the women, your families can have access to high quality water that they will be able to drink from the tap. And having a special program that will be called the Poverty Reduction Strategy, so that we can address poverty in Region 1 and environment in these communities directly, through direct support, direct involvement, bringing people together, leveraging the experience of the private sector that we have operating in these communities to work with the community themselves to create an environment in which we can develop and prosper. That is the future. Unlimited possibility. Let us not believe for a moment that our future is defined by some people promising handouts and grants and all of these things alone. Those things are important, and those things are guaranteed under the People's Progressive Party Civic. But the future we are planning for you is much more exciting. It is much more comprehensive. The future is about empowerment, enabling. It's about building prosperity. It's about removing and reducing poverty to the ultimate lowest level. It's about social investment and development. It's about building the family. It's about giving our children the best possible opportunity. That is what the future is about. And that future comes from hard work. It comes from trusted leadership. It comes from committed leadership. It comes from those who have been tried and tested. And who in this country has been tried and tested? It is your party, the People's Progressive Party Civic.
Following the United States slashing the reciprocal tariff imposed on Guyana from 38% to now 15%, the local private sector has welcomed the reduction, but urges continued dialogue to further ease the impact this could have on Guyanese exporters. Vanu Manikchand has our lead story this evening.
On Thursday evening, the White House released a document to show that the 38% reciprocal tariff announced for Guyana in April has now been reduced to 15%. Chairman of the Private Sector Commission, Captain Gerald Gavaya Jr., has acknowledged this adjustment, telling the Evening News that they are still hopeful for a further reduction. According to the PSC chairman, the tariff imposition comes at a time when Guyana is working hard to diversify its economy and expand export markets. In fact, he pointed out that this tariff could have potential impact on Guyana's emerging non-oil export sectors like agriculture, agro-processing, and manufacturing, as well as put pressure on local small, medium, and large businesses that are seeking to remain competitive in the U.S. market. To this end, Gavaya Jr. urged the Guyana government to continue dialogue with the U.S. authorities so that the 15% tariff could be further adjusted. He said, quote, "We are hopeful that this matter can be addressed through constant dialogue between our two countries. We encourage the government of Guyana to continue its dialogue with the USA toward negotiating sector-specific exemptions or finding more favorable terms that can continue to build our long-term partnership between the nations." End quote. Nevertheless, Gavaya Jr. said the private sector remains committed to supporting efforts to protect Guyanese jobs, export opportunities, and price stability while preserving strong, respectful trade relations with all global partners. Similar sentiments were expressed by the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association, which noted the government's active engagement and representation throughout the negotiation process with the U.S. to secure a reduction. The GMSA said, quote, "The association further acknowledges that discussions are ongoing and expresses its full support for continued diplomatic and trade efforts aimed at securing additional tariff reductions. The GMSA remains committed to advocating for the interests of local manufacturers and service providers and will continue to work with national and international partners to unlock new trade opportunities for Guyanese businesses." End quote. Back in April, the U.S. had initially announced a 38% reciprocal tariff on goods from Guyana, but this was later slashed to an across-the-board 10%, pending the August 1 rollout of the new tariff rates. Following the announcement of the new 15% tariff rate, Vice President Dr. Barjagdeo told this newscast on Thursday evening that the government of Guyana was very pleased with the downward adjustment. He added, however, that Guyana is still engaged in discussions with U.S. authorities and is hopeful that the tariff would be adjusted back to 10%. In fact, speaking on the issue earlier on Thursday, the Vice President stated that Guyana had already submitted documents to the U.S. Trade Representative's office regarding the tariffs and that the U.S. authorities understood that the surplus was largely from oil exports. Currently, U.S.-based oil major ExxonMobil and its co-venturers are conducting oil production activities offshore Guyana in the Stabroek Block. Reporting for the Evening News, Vanu Manikchand.
Here is Vanu Manik-Chan once again, this time to report that in demonstration of the government's commitment to bolstering Guyana's rich heritage, President Dr. Irfan Ali on Friday announced funding for 2 local groups so that they can continue fostering the local African culture, especially among young Afro-Guyanese, and empowering them.
President Dr. Irfan Ali, along with other senior government officials, attended a Grand Emancipation 2025 celebration hosted by the Organization for Social and Health Advancement in Guyana in collaboration with the Region 6 RDC on Friday in New Amsterdam. During his address to the gathering, President Ali recognized the work of 2 New Amsterdam-based non-profit organizations, the Konganaya Cultural Foundation, located at Stanley Town, which operates a free drumming school for youths, and the Organization for Social and Health Advancement in Guyana.
This is the youths of the future. So Konganaya drum is in good hands. We are in the hands of the youths.
The Konganaya group, your work among young people is enormous. And I'm committing $1 million, 1 million Guyana dollars for the further development of your group. And OSHAG, this important organization, has embraced young people. Your ambassadorial program is second to none. Your investment in young people, championing the cause of young people, is most admirable. That is why we will also support your ambassadorial program with a $1.5 million grant.
Only earlier on Friday, the head of state had met with representatives of a number of African heritage groups at State House in Georgetown, where he stressed his government's commitment to strengthening Guyana's cultural identity, particularly through music, arts, and traditional clothing, while outlining plans to build a national framework for cultural development. Meanwhile, Friday's Emancipation Day event at New Amsterdam showcased the country's rich African heritage through vibrant cultural displays, traditional drumming, and a variety of delicious foods. The event was also attended by Foreign Secretary of the United Kingdom, David Lammy, who was born to Guyanese parents hailing from West Coast Berbice but with ties to New Amsterdam.
My family are made up of Semples. Anyone know any Semples in New Amsterdam? My family are made up of Johnsons, of Grants, of Haynes, of Allen, and they stem largely from the great West Coast Berbice town of Hope Town. But my grandmother, my mother's mother, is buried here in New Amsterdam. So it is a great pleasure to be here with you on Emancipation Day, to think about the struggles of Guyanese people and those that threw off bondage and created this great country, to think of how beautiful this country is when you see the many peoples that make it up, and how one Guyana really has to mean something, particularly at this point in history. And I want you to know that when I am standing up in the UK, I am standing up proud because of people in this place, this country, that forged and made me who I am today.
Reporting for the Evening News, Vanu Manik-Chan.
The Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry has strongly condemned the recent call by the fledgling political party We Invest in Nationhood for citizens to boycott several businesses operating in Guyana, branding the move as dubious, self-serving, divisive, and dangerous. Trishelle Sobers has the details in this report.
A call to boycott several commercial banks, the Demerara Distillers Limited, the Bihari Group, which operates KFC, Pizza Hut, and GBTI, was made by U.S.-sanctioned businessman Azzuddin Mohammed on Friday. This comes days after several banking institutions closed the accounts of several of WIN candidates, a party that has the businessman as its presidential candidate. In sharply worded statements, the private sector bodies, including the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry (GCCI), accused the party of attempting to weaponize the private sector in pursuit of narrow political goals, warning that such tactics threaten to undermine national unity and economic confidence. On this point, the Chamber of Commerce reminded that businesses are not political battlegrounds and clarified that the closure of WIN accounts by financial institutions was not politically driven but rooted in the June 2024 U.S. sanctions against Mohammed, his father, and close associates by the Office of Foreign Asset Control. GCCI says, and I quote, "It strongly rejects and condemns calls by the We Invest in Nationhood WIN party to boycott several local businesses. GCCI affirms that financial institutions have acted appropriately to protect themselves from the risk associated with dealing with sanctioned individuals." The chamber described the WIN party's call to boycott banks and businesses as dubious, self-serving, decisive, and dangerous. It warned that such actions threaten private sector and national development, investor confidence, livelihoods, and democratic values. End quote. Adding its voice to the fray, the Private Sector Commission, PSC, issued its own firm rebuttal, reaffirming that all companies under attack operate fully within the legal framework of Guyana and in compliance with international financial regulations. Warning of the consequences for national stability and employment, the PSC reminded Guyanese that the affected businesses collectively support thousands of jobs and maintain long-standing relationships with the U.S. and international stakeholders. Against this backdrop, PSC also called on political actors to act responsibly and avoid stoking division in a fragile political and economic environment. Stating, and I quote, "The Private Sector Commission, PSC, strongly condemns the recent abhorrent public call for the WIN party to boycott several private companies operating lawfully in Guyana. This call is reckless, inflammatory, and both politically and economically irresponsible." Additionally, the Commission maintained that, and I quote, "Many of our member companies maintain long-standing economic relationships with the United States and other international partners. Threatening these businesses for making responsible, lawful decisions is not only misguided, but also reckless, with potential consequences for thousands of Guyanese whose livelihood depend on them." End quote. Further, GMCA reiterates that political competition must never come at the cost of economic sabotage. The association stated, and I quote, "Our business community must not be politicized, and attempts to weaponize the private sector is destructive to national progress. We have always championed efforts for Guyanese business environment to be seen as a credible economy, and statements such as these serve only to introduce uncertainty." End quote. Less than a week ago, the Guyana Bank for Trade and Industry GBTI, Citizens Bank, and Demerara have discontinued the services of several candidates who appeared on the win list for the upcoming regional and national elections. According to the banks, the action is driven by elevated risk concerns and compliance with policies set out by the U.S. Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Asset Control regarding dealing with sanctioned individuals. Trishelle Sobers, Evening News.
Here is Trishelle Sobers once again, who reports that the Guyana Association of Bankers, Inc., has defended the decision by local financial institutions to sever ties with several We Invest in Nationhood party candidates, emphasizing that the move is critical to safeguarding the country's financial system.
The Guyana Association of Bankers Incorporated, GABI, defends in support of the decision by local financial institutions to close several We Invest in Nationhood Win Party candidates' accounts, follows heightened scrutiny over the presence of Azzedine Mohammed, the party's primary backer, who was recently sanctioned by the U.S. Department of Treasury for alleged financial crimes and gold smuggling. In an official statement issued on Saturday, the association reaffirmed its commitment to maintaining robust compliance systems that protect against illicit financial flows, noting that banks must operate within risk-based frameworks and adhere to international sanction regimes. It stated, and I quote, "Banks adhere to strict regulatory obligations, including anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism requirements, as well as global risk management practices. These standards are essential to maintaining financial system integrity, protecting depositors, and ensuring continued access to international financial markets." GABI reaffirms its commitment to a strong, inclusive, and compliant banking sector that serves the interests of the Guyanese people and economy, end quote. Several banks, including the Guyana Bank for Trade and Industry, GBTI, Citizens Bank, and Demerara Bank, have already confirmed the closure of personal accounts linked to win candidates, with others expected to follow suit. The move, GABI asserts, is not political, but a matter of financial survival and legal necessity, stating, and I quote, "The Guyana Association of Bankers, Inc., GABI, reminds the public that all licensed commercial banks in Guyana operate under national laws and international standards. The association expressed gratitude to the public for their continued confidence in the banking system and reiterated its commitment to professionalism, transparency, and national development," end quote. In 2024, the Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, had announced that it sanctioned members of one of Guyana's wealthiest families, Nizar Mohammed and his son Azzedine Mohammed, several of their companies, and a Guyanese government official, May Thomas, for their role in alleged public corruption in Guyana. According to a statement from OFAC, this is related to the evasion of taxes on gold exports, noting that between 2019 and 2023, Mohammed Enterprise omitted more than 10,000 kilograms of gold from import and export declarations and avoided paying more than $50 million in duty taxes to the government of Guyana. Subsequently, Nizar Mohammed resigned as a councillor for the People's Progressive Party on one of the Neighborhood Democratic Councils, NDC, while Thomas resigned from her post of permanent secretary and also a member of the party. As the government awaits feedback from the U.S. on the matter, Mohammed's Enterprise Cambio license was suspended, while all government agencies have stopped conducting business with the Mohammeds and their related companies. Trishelle Sobers, Evening News.
Coming up, PPPC very serious about Guyana's development. No lip service, KOMAL Singh. More money in your pockets to cushion high cost of living, PM assures.
Business owners, it's time to level up with SylviesOnline.com. Shopping with us is a breeze. Browse online and plan your purchase. Check real-time stock availability. Enjoy expert in-store assistance. Whether you're on-site or in the office, shop at SylviesOnline.com. Visit SylviesOnline.com today and make your next big upgrade easy. SylviesOnline.com, your partner in productivity.
Welcome back. You're watching the evening news. Former chair of the Private Sector Commission, SINGH, has declared that the People's Progressive Party Civic is not engaging in lip service when it comes to Guyana's transformation, emphasizing that the government is deeply committed to real, tangible progress for all citizens. Trishelle Sobers reports.
During an appearance on this week's edition of the Starting Point podcast, former chair of the Private Sector Commission, managing director of GUYANA'S Construction Incorporated, and investor KOMAL SINGH praised the PPPC administration for its aggressive infrastructure agenda and its adherence to promises made during the 2020 general elections, noting that the government has not only met but exceeded its manifesto commitments. According to the GUYANA'S head, there are physical and tangible examples of infrastructural work executed by the current administration across Guyana over the past 5 years, including the landmark gas-to-energy project and the new Demerara River Bridge. Against this backdrop, Singh explained that the government's investments are not just reactive or piecemeal, but they are part of a broad interlocking vision.
The private sector is indeed the engine of growth in any economy. And most importantly, we also make sure that the environment that we operate in is one that will create an opportunity and have longevity. We don't want to invest in an environment where you come and invest today and a year from now, the economy don't have growth potential. Okay. When you look at Guyana over the last 5 years, we have seen significant growth potential. And those growth potential were backed by a government that was very, very aggressive in terms of their infrastructure development and the building out of the infrastructure that is necessary for the development of this country. The government of the day is very serious about growth and development of this country. It's not just about lip service, it's about making sure that whatever they promise, they're backed by a proper execution plan. And they're also making sure that the private sector plays a pivotal role in those developments.
With the 2025 general and regional elections looming, Singh urged Guyanese to look beyond campaign time, handshakes, and soundbites, encouraging voters to scrutinize the party promises through the lens of performance and track record. On the other hand, while Singh welcomes signs that opposition parties recognize the value of major infrastructural projects, he warned that political instability or withdrawal of bipartisan support could threaten continuity. With this in mind, he called on all political leaders to rally behind developmental initiatives that benefit every Guyanese regardless of political affiliation.
But we need to put our political differences aside when it comes to national project. National project doesn't affect just a political party. National project benefits every single Guyanese. All right. So for that reason, we need to make sure political parties, and as long as political parties are pulling and tugging when it comes to national project, definitely as an investor, we'll have question marks around it. If there is changes, what will happen? And we have seen some of this in the past. Some national projects that were pretty much out there, and when government changed, those projects will no longer give the attention that they deserve. So we need to be very careful with that. Not that you don't have confidence, but you need to start proving to the nation that you're supporting some key infrastructure development and national projects that will benefit all of our people. Your supporter, all the other political parties support at the end of the day.
Singh served 2 terms as head of the Private Sector Commission but was replaced by Jerry Gavaya Jr. earlier this year when the body hosts its annual general meeting. Trishelle Sobers, Evening News.
There will be more money in the pockets of Guyanese, even though cost of living is expected to rise over the next 5 years. Prime Minister Mark Phillips gave that assurance as he addressed a meeting hosted at D. Edward Village on Thursday evening. In this Andrew Carmichael report, you will hear that the Prime Minister assured residents that there will be more job creation should the PPPC return to office for a second term.
You know that there's no alternative for development, no alternative for safety, no alternative for security and sovereignty of Guyana than the PPPC government. And that's why I'm here asking you for a second term to support our president and our vice president in a second term, because a second term means more development for you, the people of Guyana. with the guidance of His Excellency, our President and our Vice President, two economists, there will be more economic growth in Guyana. And you know, we already promised you, as the economy grows, you will get more.
It was at this juncture the Prime Minister said that the administration will implement initiatives to cushion the effect of rising costs, while explaining the necessary actions to stabilize prices.
With economic growth, there will be more for you in your pocket, because we can utilize the money to cushion all the effects of rising costs in any country. In any country, cost of living is going up. What do you expect? Cost of living will go up in Guyana too, but you have a government that is brave and ready and prepared to take the necessary actions to stabilize the cost of living.
Speaking of some of the initiatives undertaken by the government to reduce rising costs, the Prime Minister referred to the current cost for electricity as the same back in 2019. On this note, he stated that had the government not provided the appropriate funding to the electricity company, electricity costs in Guyana would have skyrocketed. Apart from that, the government removed all taxes on fuel so that the increased prices on the world market are not being felt by Guyanese consumers. In addition, Phillips touched on other issues, that of unemployment, stating that efforts will be made to bring it down close to zero. Meanwhile, he pointed out that persons must want to work and also educate themselves through the numerous opportunities that the government has made available. For the Evening News, Andrew Carmichael.
In a continued push to strengthen Guyana's education system from the ground up, the newly constructed Swan Nursery School and a new block at Yao Crabra Nursery School along the Soesdijk to Linden Highway were commissioned on Thursday. Lawanda filed this report.
The commissioning marks another milestone in the government's aggressive investment in early childhood education and comes as part of a national initiative to improve learning spaces for the country's youngest students. The Aracabra Nursery currently caters to 90 nursery learners, a figure expected to rise in the upcoming school term. It is staffed with 9 teachers, 8 of whom are trained, while the remaining educator is currently undergoing training. This, the ministry said, reflects its commitment to delivering quality education through a well-equipped and professionally prepared workforce. Minister Manik Chan, while at the commissioning ceremony, noted that the large-scale development of nursery schools in such a short period is unprecedented and reflects a deliberate and strategic effort by the government to ensure equitable access to early childhood education.
So what we're trying to make sure we do is make sure every single teacher that stands up in front of a classroom is trained. Because while we have seen untrained teachers do amazing work, it is more likely that your children will get a solid education if the person standing in front of their classroom is a person who went to school and learned how to teach.
Meanwhile, during the commissioning of the Swan Nursery School, the Education Minister stated that the expansion and building of nursery facilities are intended to address growing demand, reduce overcrowding, and ensure that children, regardless of where they live, have the opportunity to learn in settings that support their development.
The reason we're doing that is so that children, all these children, all across this country could go to nursery. Now, here's the thing about nursery that's a little bit different. The kids are so small that you can't tell them, put them out the door and tell them go to school. You have to take them. And if schools are far away, they'll miss that crucial nursery education. So that's how come we have so many nursery schools that have been built or rebuilt or extended so that we could give that education to our children, whether they're on a mountaintop or a valley stream or on a riverbank or here in Swan.
The Aracabra and Swan Nursery Schools are among 39 nursery schools that have been extended over the past 4.5 years as part of the ministry's broader education infrastructure program. In that time, the government has constructed 54 new nursery schools across Guyana while also reconstructing 13 others. The Ministry of Education has reiterated its goal of ensuring that every child in Guyana is given a strong educational foundation, which it believes begins with access to quality nursery education. Lawanda McAllister for the Evening News.
The Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and Industry is encouraging micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises across the country to register now for a limited number of vendor booths at its high-visibility National Small Business Week Expo, which will be held on Friday, August 9 at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. The Expo, which is a major feature of NSBW 2025, is designed to spotlight the country's growing small business sector by connecting entrepreneurs with customers, corporate buyers, and the wider public. The Chamber confirmed that while the interest level is high, vendor registration remains open until Tuesday, August 5, 2025. The event, being held under the theme Building a Sustainable Future for SMEs, will bring together a vibrant mix of vendors from across industries ranging from food, fashion, and beauty to technology, creative services, and manufacturing. And now for a look at the bridge reports. There are no scheduled closures of the Demerara Harbour Bridge on Sunday, August 3, 2025. Meanwhile, the Berbice River Bridge is scheduled to be closed to vehicular traffic at 11 hours 5 on Sunday, August 3, 2025 for a period of 1.5 hours. Stage set for grand finale as 4 teams eyes CARES T10 2025 Championship, and Raekwon Noel sets 2 new national records at World Aquatics Championships. These stories and more coming up in this evening's Sportscast, sponsored by Markup.
It's Building Expo and Cricket Carnival time, and Markup is knocking prices out of the park. Get the powerful Cat 320 GX for just 30 million, the SEM 655D reloader at 17.4 million, or the SEM 636D reloaded for only 13.8 million. Each machine comes with free fuel warranty registration, 2 years warranty, and a customer value agreement for the first 500 hours. Don't wait. Register your interest now at markupcat.com or call us today on 703-8618. Markup, let's build Guyana together.
Looking to bring your dream home to reality? Or simply taking on a home improvement project? Then National Hardware Limited is where you should start. Let us put that touch to your home. Choose from over 1,000 Berger Paint original hues for any surface. We are known for our trusted brands such as Westinghouse, Philips, Sadco, Rubbermaid, Pyrex, Gibson Home, and so much more. National Hardware Limited, your do-it-best store. Located in downtown Georgetown and industrial site Rhymeville.